The Story Eater. Ryo's room was a library of worlds. Floor-to-ceiling shelves overflowed with manga, manhwa, and manhua, each spine a doorway to another universe. For Ryo, these stories were more real than reality. They were his home. He was reading his favorite series when a strange chill crept over him. He frowned, trying to recall the name of the protagonist's signature attack. It was legendary, a name he had cheered for 100 times. But now, there was only a cold, frustrating blank in his mind. A quick search online confirmed his fears. A strange panic was spreading through forums and fan groups. People were calling it the Great Forgetting. Plot points were vanishing from collective memory. Beloved characters were becoming nameless faces. In desperation, he grabbed the first volume of Blade of the Mist, a story he knew by heart. He opened it, needing to see the ink on the paper. But as he watched, the lines began to waver. The art fizzled like static, fading into the stark white of the page. "No," he whispered, a desperate denial. He pressed his hand against a fading panel of the heroine, Kiri, as if he could physically hold the drawing together. The moment his fingers touched the page, the vanishing ink erupted in an impossible, blinding light. The world dissolved. Ryo felt himself being pulled apart and reassembled, a terrifying sensation of being stretched across a cosmic canvas. He was no longer a reader. He was being written into the story. He landed on hard cobblestone. The air smelled of wood smoke and ink. He was in Kiri's village, rendered in the manga's familiar art style. But it was wrong. The edges of the world were unfinished, blurring into a flat, white nothingness. A figure stood before him, sword at her hip. It was Kiri, the Blade of the Mist herself, but her heroic eyes were clouded with confusion. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice distant. "I feel like I was on my way somewhere important, but I can't remember where." "You're Kiri," Ryo said, scrambling to his feet. "You were heading to the Shadow Citadel to defeat the Demon Lord." A flicker of recognition crossed her face, as faint as a dying ember. "The Demon Lord, yes, I think I remember that." Before he could say more, a nearby pagoda began to decay. The bold ink lines wavered and broke, consumed by a creeping glitch-like whiteness. It wasn't just fading, it was being devoured by an unnatural emptiness. The Story Eater was here. "It's happening from the inside," Ryo yelled. "Your world is being unwritten. That's why we're forgetting it in my world. It's not our memories that are fading, it's the story itself." Kiri's confusion hardened into resolve. She drew her katana, its steel humming with a faint energy. "My story will not end as a blank page," she declared, the fire returning to her eyes. "If this world is a story, then it has a heart. We will find it, and I will protect it." The heart of the story. Ryo thought aloud, his fanboy knowledge kicking in. "It's the climax. Your final battle against the Demon Lord at the Celestial Waterfall. It's the most iconic moment in the entire series. It has to be there." So their impossible journey began. They traveled across a world that was coming undone, through half-sketched forests and across rivers of blank paper. They were a strange pair, the reader who knew the ending and the hero who was forgetting her beginning. A monster from the manga, a fearsome oni, materialized before them, but it was unstable, glitching in and out of existence. Kiri met it head-on, her movements fluid and certain, a stark contrast to the decaying creature she fought. She was a complete thought in a fading sentence. They finally reached the Celestial Waterfall, a location so beautiful it was always a double-page spread. But the Story Eater's void was already there, consuming the top of the falls, which crumbled into white static that fell like silent snow. "How can I fight nothingness?" Kiri cried out, her resolve wavering. "My blade cannot cut a blank page." Ryo grabbed her arm. "Don't fight it. Remind it why you exist. Use your ultimate attack, not to destroy, but to create. Re-ink your world." Kiri understood. She closed her eyes, channeling all of her being, her entire story, into her blade. She raised her katana to the sky and shouted the name of her ultimate attack, a name Ryo had forgotten, but now heard as clear as a bell: Misty Mooncleaver. A wave of pure narrative force erupted from her sword. It didn't cut the void, but filled it, painting reality back into existence. The waterfall roared back to life. The colors grew vibrant. As the light of the attack engulfed everything, Ryo felt a familiar pull, sending him home. Ryo gasped, finding himself back in his room. In his hands, Blade of the Mist was pristine, its story whole and vibrant. He could remember everything. He looked at his shelves, at the thousands of other worlds. One was safe, for now, but the Story Eater was still hungry. His journey had just begun.